In our search for the good life, we've found one behavior that's more important for a good long life than not being overweight, not smoking, and staying away from environmental air pollution. The effect of it can be measured in our immune system, in our genes, and in our heart. In this episode, we meet Professor Barbara Fredrickson, one of the world's leading positive psychologists. She has studied the ways humans interact and found some quite surprising things. Things that we have felt very clearly on our own body while being corona locked up for 4 months in Panama and 40 days on the Pacific Ocean. It's time we have a look at one of the most important parts of a good long life. And if you stay to the end, you'll also get a scientific tip to a happy marriage. We're two Danes sailing around the world to meet people, visit places, and explore the science behind what a good life is. All this at 10 kilometers an hour. Please join us as we explore life. This time, we've traveled to North Carolina University in the US to speak with Professor Barbara Fredrickson. She has dedicated her research to understanding our positive emotions and what they mean to us.
You'd think that psychology would have been studying emotions for all of its history, but for about 80 years it didn't, because it was trying to be taken seriously as a science. We didn't study emotions at all. And just as researchers started studying emotions, it was all on negative emotions. And that just struck me as, well, there's something off about that. Emotions are pleasant and unpleasant. And there were no good theories to explain why humans have positive emotions. So I took that as my intellectual puzzle, and that drew me in.
Positive emotions is in itself an important topic. We'll have a closer look at it in another episode. But one of the places where positive emotions play a very important part is in our relationships with others.
There's no avoiding the fact that positive connections with others are necessary to survive. Positive social integration with others in our daily life is a better predictor of how long we live than whether we are overweight, whether we smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, whether we take in environmental air pollution and toxins. All these things that we put a lot of effort and concern into as public health problems, it's actually our positive relationships that end up being more predictive of living long.
And the benefits are not just in our head. It leads to significant physical changes in our body.
What we have found through our research is that the positive interactions we have with other people not only feel good in the moment and improve the quality of our relationships, they also serve as a miniature tune-up for the cardiovascular system and bringing us closer to cardiovascular health. And also our gene expression in our immune system seems to be responsive to the quality of our social connections as well. And so to connect with others, it's not only enjoyable, great for mental health, but it seems to be really vital for physical health. And we see that through how those interactions affect the cardiovascular system and how they affect the immune system.
Human interaction is a big part of why we travel.
The main reason why I like to travel is, without a doubt, being able to meet a lot of different people who most likely are living their life another way than ours, or I'm doing back home, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a cool thing when you can, learn something that maybe you can do something better at home.
Yeah.
Due to the COVID-19 breakout, that all changed, and we have clearly felt the impact of lack of human interaction. First, we endured 4 months of quarantine just outside Panama City. Then followed 40 days and almost 9,000 kilometers on the Pacific Ocean, just the two of us. It's been a very strange period. It's been extremely challenging mentally. It was like our brains began hibernating, and we both began having trouble remembering a number of words. The world kind of stood still. It felt like forever. But still, time seemed to magically disappear. and we got all filled up with ocean view. The Pacific Ocean did, however, provide us with a few quite amazing highlights. Jumping humpback whales, big pods of dolphins, some very curious pilot whales, and some really big birds who really loved hanging out and going to the restroom on our front deck. If human interaction is so important, does that mean we should run out and make as many friends as possible?
I think there's two aspects that matter. Having at least one confidant, somebody who you can really confide in when things are going tough. In addition to that, the quality of the connections that we have with strangers, acquaintances in our communities, that matters as much as well. But I would think of that as in terms of frequency of interaction in your day, rather than a quantity of friend count.
So one good friend is important. Beyond that, it's not the friend count, but the frequency of positive social connections with really any person you meet. Studies have also identified another interesting point that can explain why we mostly make new friends while we are young and later in life.
There are certain times in life that people end up building friendships that end up lasting their whole life. And what researchers have found that it's unstructured time together that people need to really build that quality relationship. And so what happens for people in midlife is that their lives are so busy that they don't have any unstructured time with new acquaintances that allows them to turn them into friendships because people are just so overscheduled.
When it comes to making new friends, there seems to be something we can learn from the children. Simply having a bit more unstructured time to spend and taking the time to meet new people. It was great to finally arrive in Tahiti. We had to wait a bit to get released from our quarantine, but the anchorage clearly drew out a number of tourists in very touristy boats. So right away, we could begin enjoying the human activity around us. And the next day, we could finally go to shore.
It feels strange after we have been in isolation for 5 months to go to this restaurant where all the people was just sitting around tables having fun and eating food like you do in a restaurant.
Yeah, it's like the sound of human activity is something we really haven't appreciated before. Like the noise of the children in the playground and cars all over the street. It just felt really good.
We were also finally allowed back in the water and could have some fun with our fellow sailors. Here in French Polynesia, the importance of human interaction has even found its way to the state flag. Right in the middle of it is a group of people paddling in the outrigger canoe, a very important part of Polynesian history and deeply engraved in their culture. It's even something that kids are taught in school. Now, as promised, the scientific tip to a happy marriage. Barbara has also studied good and healthy long-term marriages to see if she could find out anything special about the way these couples interacted with each other. And she did.
Even when people are engaged in a conflict or discussing something that they really fundamentally disagree on, they can still laugh together. They can still be caring towards one another, even in those difficult moments. Those are the healthiest, most satisfying of the long-term marriages we've studied. And so just recognizing that if there's some small way you can still share a laugh or share a kindness, just peppering in those kinds of moments in the argument is hugely beneficial to the relationship.
Agreeing is great, but being good at disagreeing is truly an art form. If you've been looking for a trick that actually gives you a longer and better life, now you've got it, and you're welcome. So don't forget to take your time to meet people around you face to face. If you're always overscheduled, then make that extra room for a bit of unstructured time. And remember to take that extra minute to give a smile and have a chat with the bus driver, your neighbor, the girl at the gas station. It'll make their day great, and your day and your life even better and longer.
We need to be thinking about positive relationships, positive connections with people in our community, not necessarily people you have a long-standing relationship with, but just with acquaintances that you encounter within your day, or strangers in the store where you're shopping. That positive connections there seem to equally contribute to health. So I like to think of this as a positive health behavior on par with eating your fruits and vegetables and staying physically active. Having positive connections with others is that important for our health.